जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय यशोदनंदना जय ब्रज जनरंजना जय यशोदनंदना जय ब्रज जनरंजना जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय यमुना तिरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय यमुना तिरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय श्री श्री राधा माधव की जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुंदरमाई की जय नरसिंह भगवान की जय पंचतत्व की जय षड गोस्वामी की जय गुरु परंपरा की जय शिल प्रभुपाद की जय शिल गुरुदेव की जय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि बोल ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu's Mataji, welcome all of you for this appointment with Krishna today. And today we'll be discussing from Bhagavatam 4th canto, 8th chapter, verse number 42. So, Hare Krishna. So, this is from 4th canto, Bhagavatam, 8th chapter, verse number 42. Tattat gaccha bhadram te yamunayastatam shuchi punyam madhuvanam yatra sanidhyam nityada harehe. Tattat gaccha bhadram te yamunayastatam shuchi punyam madhuvanam yatra sanidhyam nityada harehe. Tattat gaccha bhadram te yamunayastatam shuchi punyam madhuvanam yatra sanidhyam nityada harehe. Any two of you can recite, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, may I recite?
Yes, Madhavi.
Tattat gaccha bhadram te yamunaya satam shuchi punyam madhuvanam yatra sanidhyam nityada harehe.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
One more in
Krishna.
English.
Hare Krishna. May I recite, Prabhu?
Yes.
Tattat gaccha bhadram te yamunayastatam shuchi punyam madhuvanam yatra sanityam nityada harehe.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Word to word meaning synonyms. That. Tata, my dear son. Gaccha, go. Bhadram, good fortune. Te, for you. Yamunayaha, of the Yamuna. Tatam, bank. Shuchi, being purified. Punyam, the holy. Madhuvanam, of the name Madhuvana. Yatra, where. Sanidhyam, be nearer. Nityada, always. Harehe, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by Divan Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Please hear the translation and purport. My dear boy, I therefore wish all good fortune for you. You should go to the bank of Yamuna, where there is a virtuous forest named Madhuvana, and there be purified. Just by going there, one draws nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always lives there. Purport. Both Narada Muni and Suniti, the mother of Dhruva Maharaj, advised Dhruva Maharaj to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Narada Muni is especially giving him in directions how this worship of the Supreme Person can very quickly fructify. He recommends that Dhruva Maharaj go to the bank of the Yamuna, where there is a forest of the name Madhuvana, and begin his meditation and worship there. Places of pilgrimage yield a special advantage for a devotee in quickly advancing his spiritual life. Lord Krishna lives everywhere, but still it is very easy to approach him in holy places of pilgrimage because these places are inhabited by great sages. Lord Shri Krishna says that he lives wherever his devotees are chanting the glories of his transcendental activities. There are many places of pilgrimage in India, and especially prominent are Badarinarayana, Dwaraka, Rameshwara, and Jagannath Puri. These sacred places are called the four Dhamas. Dhama refers to a place where one can immediately contact the Supreme Lord. To go to Badari Narayana, one has to pass through Haridwar on the path to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, there are other holy places of pilgrimage such as Prayaga, Allahabad, and Mathura, and the topmost of them is Vrindavana. Unless one is very advanced in spiritual life, it is recommended that he live in such holy places and execute devotional service there. But an advanced devotee like Narada Muni, who is engaged in preaching work, can serve the Supreme Lord anywhere. Sometimes he even goes to the hellish planets. Hellish conditions do not affect Narada Muni because he is engaged in greatly responsible activities in devotional service. According to the statement of Narada Muni, Madhuvana, which is still existing in the Vrindavana area, in the district of Mathura, is the most sacred place. Many saintly persons still live there and engage in the devotional service of the Lord. There are 12 forests in the area of Vrindavana, and Madhuvana is one of them. Pilgrims from all parts of India assemble together and visit all 12 of these forests. There are 5 forests on the eastern bank of the Yamuna: Bhadravana, Bilbhavana, Lauhavana, Bhandiravana, and Mahavana. On the western side of the bank, there are 7: Madhuvana, Talavana, Kumudavana, Bahulavana, Kamyavana, Khadiravana, and Vrindavana. In those 12 forests, there are different ghatas or bathing places. They are listed as follows: Avimukta, Adhirudha, Guhya Tirtha, Prayaga Tirtha, Kanakhala, Tinduka Tirtha, Surya Tirtha, Vataswami, Dhruva Ghata, where there are many nice trees of fruits and flowers, is famous because Dhruva Maharaj meditated and underwent severe penances and austerities there in an elevated spot. Then Rishi Tirtha, Moksha Tirtha, Buddha Tirtha, Gokarna, Krishna Ganga, Vaikuntha, and Asikunda. Then Chatu Samudrika Kupa, Akrura Tirtha. When Krishna and Balarama were going to Mathura in the chariot driven by Akrura, right? All of them took bath in this ghata. Yajnike Vipra Sthana, Kubja Kupa, Rangasthala, Manchasthala, Marayuddha Sthana, and Dashaswamedha. Jai Shri Prabhupada's translation purport ki Jai. Om Gyantimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Saganilita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vaneshwari Shabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yonta Pravishya Mamavacha Mamavrasuktam Sanjeevayati Akhila Shakti Dharaswadhamna Anyam Chahasta Charana Shamanato Gadin Prana Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangam Langayate Girim Nikripatamam Mande Ananda Madhavam Tirtharana Namo Vishtava Vishnu Vishtavabhuta Vishnu Vashu Samati Namne Namo Vishtava Vishnu Vishtavabhuta Vishnu Bhakti Vedanta Samani Nirusha Shunya Pachaka Sundra Sri Krishna Punya Prabhu Nityananda Yadvat Krishna Hare Krishna So Hare Krishna Brothers and Sisters, welcome all of you for this Srimad Bhagavatam session. So this chapter, 4th canto 8, chapter 42nd verse, is entitled Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. See, one's natural tendency, that is Swabhavika, that is the most important factor in action. See, one's natural tendency, what is the natural tendency of everyone? Is to serve. Because a living entity is an eternal servant of God. The living entity wants to serve. But because of the forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna, he serves under the modes of material nature. And thereby what happens? He manufactures various modes of service, such as socialism, correct? Humanitarianism, all these things. However, one should be enlightened in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and accept the instructions of the Supreme Lord that one should give up all the natural tendencies for material service, which are under different names, and to take the service of the Lord. This is very, very important. See, one's original tendency is to act in Krishna consciousness, but because of forgetfulness, we are not doing that. Actually, one's real nature is spiritual. So the duty of a human being is to understand that since he is spiritually, essentially a spirit, right? He must abide by the spiritual tendency and not be carried away by the material tendencies. This is very important for us to understand. See, the first instruction of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita was first of all, try to understand that you are not this body. That's the first instruction in Bhagavad Gita. So when we actually understand that I am not this body, then there is a possibility of unity. In one of the lectures, Prabhupada very beautifully says, he says, when this education will be spread about unity, all over the world in the human society, then you talk of unity. Otherwise, there is no question of unity. And Prabhupada gives an example. If you keep the dogs as dogs, and if you say that you be united, that is not possible. You have to raise the human society to the standard of spiritual life or spiritual understanding. Then there will be unity. Otherwise, it is not possible. So, the Krishna conscious movement is to bring the human society on the spiritual platform. That is called Paro Dharmo. Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo. That spiritual society is situated on the central point of Krishna or Bhagavan or God. Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Adokshaji. See, it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-18, which we recite every day. Nashta Prayasha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So, by spreading the Bhagavata principles, we can raise the human society to the platform of perfection. The point is, when one is not affected by these bodily conceptions, then one can advance to Krishna's liberation service. That is Nashta Prayasha Badreshu, right? It says, beautifully it says. See, the more we advance our freedom from the bodily conception, the more we are fixed in devotional service. And the more we are happy and peaceful. So the test for us to understand whether we are happy, whether we are peaceful is, are we really advancing in the devotional service? Are we really fixed in devotional service? See, when we are fixed in devotional service, it doesn't mean that there won't be any difficulties or anything, right? So how to get fixed in devotional service? For example, you're hammering a nail in the wall, right? So when you're hammering it, to ensure that it is fixed, you will slightly put it like this, turn it, twisting it like this to see whether it is really fixed. So Krishna also will test us when we are chanting and doing everything. He will test us with small doses of some difficulties, whatever it is, just to test whether we are really fixed in devotional service. Are we determined? See, Srila Madhavacharya says that those who are too materially affected, they continue in bodily consumption. So this is also another test. That means we are more and more into still material. That means we are not in the spiritual platform. We are in the bodily consumption. And such persons are concerned with different bodily symptoms. Whereas the one who is freed from bodily conceptions, he lives without the body even in the material condition. See, we saw in the purport, this verse, 4842, beginning, Prabhupada says, very nice instruction given by Narada Muni and Suniti, right? Both Narada Muni and Suniti, the mother of Dhruva Maharaj, they advised Dhruva Maharaj to worship the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna. Now, Narada Muni is especially giving Dhruva Maharaj directions how this worship of the Supreme Lord can be very quickly, it will quickly fructify. He recommends that Dhruva Maharaj go to the bank of Yamuna, where there is a forest of the name Madhuvana, and then begin his meditation and worship there. See, in this current chapter which we are discussing, If you go further up, now we are discussing 42nd chapter. Actually, from 48, 45 to 52, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 8 verses. It describes the form of the Lord, which was given by Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj. He was describing the form of the Lord, how the Lord looks like. The beautiful verses, 45 to 52, it describes the form of the Lord to Dhruva Maharaj, on which he can meditate. See, when Dhruva Maharaj goes to the forest to find Lord Krishna, Narada Muni intercepts him. Because first Suniti, his mother was telling him, right? The only person who can give you solace or whatever you desire is only by Lord Krishna. So you got to go and pray to him. So he was going. He's a 5-year-old boy. So Narada Muni intercepts him, and on seeing his intense desire to see the Lord, he describes him the transcendental form of the Lord. These 8 verses. See, this form is not an imaginary, something imaginary, right? Not an imaginary representation, which can be made according to one's own conception. But it must be based on the authentic description of the Lord by the Acharyas and the Shastras. See, in various sections of Bhagavatam, the Lord's form is so very nicely depicted. Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, Kapila Muni to Mother Devahuti, Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj, Lord Shiva to the Prachetas, so many other places. So we can take advantage of these glorious descriptions of Krishna and try to meditate on the various parts of his transcendental forms as much as we can. See, what we have to learn is these forms of the Lord are made in 8 different elements, as described in Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 27th chapter, 12th verse, by Krishna himself. He says, the deity form of the Lord is said to appear in 8 varieties: stone, wood, metal, earth, paint, sand, the mind, or jewels. Except the mind, we can find the deity made of all other elements in the temples or places of worship. See, we take so much austerity, to go to the temple. But really, we do not have the patience to stand in front of the Lord and just have this wonderful transcendental darshan of the form of the Lord and offer a few humble prayers in submission. No patience. We just want to make it as a ritualistic activity, right? See, take all the pain to go to temple or dhams and just move about for a change of air and then return back home. Not back home to God, no, to your own home, to do the same old business of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Envy, pride, greed, anger. See, there is no change of heart actually taking place. Temple is the Lord's own home. Temple is the Lord's own home. Suppose we go to some friend or relative's home. What do? We buy some gifts, go to their place, spend some pleasing time with them, offer them gifts, right? Try to help them, and then return back. Similarly, when we go to the Lord's home, temple or dham, we should lovingly buy something, some offering for the Lord. Meditate on the beautiful form of the Lord. Offer some prayers from the heart and do some seva like cleaning the temple hall or surrounding areas, making garlands, cooking for the Lord, preaching, so many other services which Prabhupada has provided us. See, this will what happen now. If we do this, this will increase our humility and love for Krishna. And when the humility develops, we will gain a natural attraction to the beautiful form of the Lord as much as we can. But practically, we may not be able to always see the forms of the Lord in the temples, because neither do we stay within the temple, nor do we keep our eyes open 24 hours. So to help us in this regard, the form made in the mind is recommended. After the 8th one, mind is also there. You may not have realized that. That is also one of the form of deity. That is, the form made in the mind is recommended. Because 24 hours you are not able to do. So this is usually practiced by advanced yogis, right? But Prabhupada says devotees can as well do the same with the help of the costless mercy of the Lord. One of the best ways to remember the Lord in the mind, how, is by singing some beautiful shlokas from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and other related scriptures, appreciating the beauty of the Lord. Prabhupada writes in the glorious purport of 3:28:30, Manomayam is a carving of the form of the Lord within the mind. Manomayam is a carving of the form of the Lord within the mind. See, so this is Mind is included as one of the 8 different carvings of the form of the Lord. It is not an imagination. The meditation on the actual form of the Lord may be manifested in different manners. But one should not conclude that one has to imagine a form. There again, misdirection. It's not imagination of a form. See, one advantage of the form of the Lord within the mind is that it can be invoked irrespective of time, place, and circumstances. Moreover, the mind is instantly purified by the Lord's beautiful form in pure goodness. The moment you think of that beautiful form of the Lord, that's why you have to recite these verses, like Narada Muni is giving these 8 verses in various places. Beautiful. The Lord is a person. Okay. It's not impersonal. He's a person, and hence the meditation of the personal form of the Lord increases our attachment for Krishna. There are 5 transcendental slokas spoken by Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj, glorifying the beauty of the Lord. As I said before, 4, 8, 45 up to 49. And we like to quote here. See, the first verse I will just discuss and leave the rest, all of you to relish at your own leisure, right? Prasadabhimukham shashvat prasanna vadanekshanam sunasam subhruvam charu kapolam sura sundaram. The form of the Lord is described here. This is the first verse, the 44 and 45. The Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful and pleasing in attitude. To the devotees who see him, he appears never to be displeased and is always prepared to award benedictions to them. His eyes, his nicely decorated eyebrows, his raised nose, and his broad forehead are all very beautiful. He is more beautiful than all the demigods. See, the Lord is always ready, waiting to offer his costless mercy. Prasadabhimukham shashvat. So his form, eyes, face are always pleasing. And by just having the darshan of this pleasing form, we become pleased. See, where can we get an easier way to become pleased? We spend so much money gazing at all the movie stars, sports stars. But because of the disturbed condition of the selection of the object, mind is also ultimately disturbed. Let us pray to Guru, Prabhupada, and our spiritual masters, right? To give us the benediction to remember these glorious forms of the Lord in our mind as long as possible and be pleased in being Krishna conscious. Dhruva Maharaj initially approached Supreme Lord with material desires. He did not immediately want to have be transcendently situated devotional service. No, he wanted something material. Just like we are always approaching Lord for some material things, right? So Dhruva Maharaj initially was approaching him with material desires. But when he started to honestly and sincerely follow the process taught by whom? By Narada Muni to attain Krishna. Krishna was so pleased that he not only fulfilled his material desires, but he also gave him his shelter. So much so that Dhruva Maharaj started regretting as to why he had earlier approached Lord with material desires. So pure devotees of the Lord, they simply want to be engaged in loving service of the Lord and would not desire anything else. If you can't, see, another wonderful thing we can understand is, if you can't be with one with you love, right? If you can't be with the one you love the one you are with. Could you imagine living your whole life with someone you don't like or even hate? But that is what we do, living this world. Dhritarashtra's, state of illusion, right? He was attached to material comforts. And because of that, he could not get serious about spiritual life. And his brother Vidura Maharaj, he was needed to wake him up, reminding him of his very pitiable condition and soon about to die. We all at this very moment may be in the exact same condition as Dhritarashtra was. So let us get real. How serious am I really in Krishna conscious right now? We will just ask this question. How serious am I in real Krishna conscious right now? See, I could prioritize chanting better rounds. If you are serious in our practice, the time can be transcended. Time will not bother you at all. So Prabhupada says, for one who is Krishna conscious, the miseries of material existence have no effect. See, we cannot stop the miseries of the middle atmosphere, right? But Krishna consciousness is an antiseptic method to protect us from being affected by the miseries of material existence. Very beautifully given by Prabhupada in 3:22-32 purport. See, a great example of this we can find in the life of Swayambhuva Manu. Bhagavatam relates how Manu spends an inconceivably long lifetime of 71 yuga cycles in devotion to the Lord. How did he do that? For us, even sitting for one round of 7 minutes standing or 10 minutes also is difficult. Swami Manu did it expertly, arranging his life. That is the main thing. We have to organize our life in such a way. So he arranged his life according to Vedic culture. In this way, in a very nice, he avoided being affected by this. Early in the morning, there were musicians who used to sing with musical instruments about the glories of the Lord. And the emperor with his family personally used to hear about the pastimes of the Supreme Person. So this custom is still prevalent in India, in some of the royal families and temples. See, professional musicians, they sing with shehnais. And the sleeping members of the house gradually get up from their beds in a pleasing atmosphere. See, during bedtime also, the singers sing songs in relationship with the pastimes of the Lord, with shehnais accompaniment. And the householders gradually fall asleep, remembering the glories of the Lord. In every house, in addition to the singing program, there is an arrangement for Bhagavatam lectures in the evening. So family members sit down, hold Hare Krishna Kirtana, hear narrations from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and enjoy this music before going to bed. So the atmosphere created by the Sankirtana movement lives in their hearts. And while sleeping, they also dream of the singing and glorification of the Lord. So in such a way, perfection of Krishna consciousness can be attained. See, now Manu was not into sense enjoyment. He just did his duty, that's all. And that pleased Supreme Lord Krishna. Similarly, when Dhruva Maharaj was ordered to rule for another 36,000 years, with full facilities for sense enjoyment, he was doing it as a duty to Supreme Lord for his pleasure. So in this way, even though Swayambhuva Manu, Dhruva Maharaj, they were given the facilities for material enjoyment, what did they do? They utilized it for the service of Krishna. This way we can transcend the effects of time. So the motto is, improve your relationship with time. Get serious in the service of Krishna. My Guru Maharaj, when he was discussing the verse 1:13:54, it says, one who has controlled the sitting postures, the yogic asanas, and the breathing process can turn the senses towards the absolute personality of Godhead and thus become immune to the contamination of the modes of material nature, namely mundane goodness, passion, and ignorance. See, it is nicely mentioned in the purport by Srila Prabhupada that by the preliminary activities of the way of yoga, one will be able to engage all his senses in the service of the Supreme Enjoyer. And this process directly helps the devotee to get freedom from what? From the contamination of the three material modes of nature. So as being part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, it's a birthright for every human being to be devotee by nature and perform devotional service to please the Supreme Enjoyer. So to perform devotional service, what must we have to perform devotional service? Our mind must be purified. But before purifying our mind, we need to purify our senses by means of yoga. See, the yoga system is a mechanical way to control the senses in the mind and convert them from matter to spirit. My Guru Maharaj said, the best practical example of meditation and yoga has been given by Srila Prabhupada. A person who is in full Krishna consciousness, engaged in devotional service to the Lord like chanting, performing Mangalarati, cooking prasadam, sometimes washing dishes or cleans the temple. Such persons who engage their body, mind, and intelligence in the service of Krishna are called Bhakti Yogis. That's why in Bhagavad Gita 12.3, Maya Veshimano Yemam Nityayukta Upasate Shraddaya Parayopetas Teme Yukta Tamamataha. The Supreme Personality of God had said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. So to attend Mangalarti, We need to wake up early in the morning. Correct? There's a very nice Gujarati proverb which my Guru Maharaj always used to say. Those who are early to bed, those who are early to bed and early to rise will acquire strength, intelligence, wealth, and knowledge, and his body will also remain happy and healthy. So by chanting in a sitting position, one can unknowingly perform the pranayamasana. Pranayamasana means one can perform in sitting posture and meditate upon the spiritual thoughts with manipulation of air passing within the body. And gradually situated in trance, facing the absolute person known as Paramatma. So Paramatma means Supreme Personality Godhead, Krishna himself. So by performing the physical services like cleaning the temple, cleaning the vessels of prasadam, and other devotional service, which includes bodily stresses, right? It can help to maintain our body from obesity and protects us from various diseases. So these are practical examples which one can realize personally, and also hearing from those devotees who suffered from various sickness and became perfectly all right by performing such simple service. So I remember that one day, one of the devotees was suffering from fever. It was a long time in Rajkot when we were having a program. When Maharaj was also there. So one devotee was suffering from fever. So due to sickness, he did not attend the morning Bhagavatam class of Maharaj. So Maharaj ignored his absence and went on with his Bhagavatam class. After completing the class, Maharaj requested one of the devotees to bring him to the temple. He suggested that devotee to hold a broomstick and start sweeping the temple hall. At that time, I was wondering, see, when you are suffering from fever, then why Maharaj suggested him to sweep the temple hall? Later on, when I went to my place and I was just thinking, why Maharaj told him so? Next day, I was surprised to see that the devotee was perfectly all right. And when I inquired from him, he told, just because he performed some physical activities the previous day, he was all right. So this cleared all my doubts. So one should not be disturbed by the activities of the modes of nature. Instead of putting his consciousness to such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. And Krishna activities are known as Bhakti Yoga, which means always acting for Krishna. The more we are intimately attached with Krishna, the more we receive reciprocation from Krishna. The more we are intimately attached with Krishna, the more we receive reciprocation from Krishna. See, the example is given as the electric bulb, which is connected with the meter or transformer, will reflect with its full capacity, voltage. Now, if the bulb is loosely connected to the transformer or the power supply, then it is weak. Then either the bulb will not glow, or worst case, it will be a very dim light. So to get the bulb to glow brightly, the connection should be strong and perfect. In the same way, the body of a devotee must be sound to follow the devotional service at its fullest by establishing strong connection with the Supreme Lord Krishna by rendering devotional service, such as performing Mangalarati, studying the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, serving the devotees. Very nice point my Guru Maharaj used to say. To have a sound body is not the goal of our life. To have a sound body is not the goal of our life. But to have Krishna in our sound body is the only goal of our life. So pure devotee always concentrates upon the personal form of the Lord and worships him with faith and devotion is to be considered most perfect in yoga. So whatever he does not let a single moment pass without devoting his activities to Krishna. So such action is called samadhi. See, we saw in this purport, the current verse which we are discussing, places of pilgrimage yield a special advantage for a devotee in quickly advancing his spiritual life. So Krishna lives everywhere, but still it is very easy to approach him in holy places of pilgrimage because these places are inhabited by great sages. And Krishna says that he lives wherever his devotees are chanting the glories of his transcendental activities. Very nice statement. Krishna says that he lives wherever his devotees are chanting the glories of his transcendental activities. So now we are all here in Krishna Katha. We are chanting his glories. So he is very much there. So there are many places of pilgrimage in India. Especially prominent are Badari Narayana, Dwaraka, Rameshwara and Jagannath Puri. So these sacred places are called four dhams. Dhamma refers to a place where one can immediately contact the Supreme Lord. See, in 4:30:37, purport, Prabhupada says, when a pure devotee goes to a place of pilgrimage, he desires to purify that holy place of pilgrimage. See, please understand this point. Many sinful men bathe in the holy waters of the places of pilgrimage. They take their baths in the waters of Ganges and Yamuna at places such as Prayag, Vrindavan, Mathura. In this way, the sinful men are purified because they go there and take bath. He says, Prabhupada says, in this way, sinful men are purified, but their sinful actions and reactions remain at the holy place of pilgrimage. You take a bath, you get purified, come out. But your actions and reactions are still there in the place of pilgrimage. So when a devotee, pure devotee comes to take his bath at those places of pilgrimage, the sinful reactions left by the sinful men are neutralized by the devotee. Tirti kurvanti tirtani swantasthena gada prata. 1:13:10 Bhagavatam says. Because the devotee always carries the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. So wherever he goes, it becomes a place of pilgrimage, a holy place for understanding Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is therefore the duty of everyone to associate with a pure devotee and thus attain freedom from material contamination. Everyone should take advantage of the wandering devotees whose only business is to deliver the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. So even Maharaj Yudhishthira was receiving his uncle Vidura, no, who had visited various sacred places of pilgrimage during the Mahabharata war. So Yudhishthira Maharaj told Vidura that pure devotees like him are personified holy places because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always within them in their hearts. So by their association, sinful persons are freed from sinful reactions. And therefore, wherever a pure devotee goes is a sacred place of pilgrimage. So the importance of holy places is due to the presence of such pure devotees. See, in Chaitanya Charitam Madhya Lila 17.193 purport, Prabhupada says, the translation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the different forests, including Madhuvana, Talavana, Kumudavana, Bahulavana. So wherever he went, he took his bath with great ecstatic love. See, the word Vana means forest. And Vrindavana is a name given to the forest where Srimati Vrindavan, Vrindadevi, Tulsi Devi grows profusely. Actually, it is not a forest, as we ordinarily consider a forest, because it is very thick with green vegetation. See, there are 12 such vanas in Vrindavana. Some are located on the western side of the Yamuna, others on the eastern side. So the forests situated on the eastern side are Bhadravana, Vilvavana, Lahovana, Bhandiravana, and Mahavana. On the western side are Madhuvana, Talavana, Kumudavana, Bahulavana, Kamyavana, Khandiravana, and Vrindavana. So these are the 12 forests of Vrindavana area. So in the beginning of this purport of 442, we can see, my dear boy, I therefore wish all good fortune for you. What a wonderful blessings, right? You know, Lord Shiva in 4:24-27, Lord Shiva said, you are all the sons of King Prachinibarhi, and I wish all good fortune to you. I also know what you are going to do. Therefore, I am visible to you just to show my mercy upon you. See, the purport Prabhupada says, by these words, Lord Shiva indicates that what the princes were going to do was known to him. It is a fact that they were going to worship Lord Vishnu by severe austerities and penances. So knowing this fact, Lord Shiva immediately became very pleased. So this indicates that a person who is not yet a devotee of the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, but who desires to serve the Supreme Lord, he receives the benedictions of demigods, headed by the chief demigod, Lord Shiva. So a devotee of the Lord does not need to try to please the demigods separately. Simply by worshipping the Supreme Lord, a devotee can please all of them. Nor does he have to ask the demigods for material benedictions also. For the demigods, what happens? Being pleased with the devotee, automatically offer him everything that he needs. So the demigods are servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are always prepared to help a devotee in all circumstances. So therefore, Shira Bilvamangala Thakura said that if one has unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Lord, the goddess of liberation is ready to serve him, to say nothing of the gods of material opulences. Very nice. And if I have unalloyed devotion to the Lord, Lakshmi, Lord, goddess of liberation, the goddess of liberation is ready to serve him. See, all the demigods are simply waiting for an opportunity to serve the devotee. There is no need for a devotee of Krishna to endeavor for material opulence or liberation. So by being situated in the transcendental position of devotion service, He receives all the benefits of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha just by the translated service of the Lord. So very nicely given in the purport of 424-27 by Prabhupada. See, in 430, 4th canto, 38th verse, in translation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear sons of the King, King Parshinabarshid, right? I am very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune." So when the Krishna is pleased, no, he blesses you with all good fortune. And he's asking, now you may ask a benediction from me. See, in the purport, Prabhupada says, since the sons of King Prachini were all united in Krishna consciousness, the Lord was very pleased with them. Each and every one of the sons of King Prachini was an individual soul. But they were united. They were individual souls, but they were united in offering transcendental service to the Lord. See, the unity of the individual souls attempting to satisfy the Supreme Lord or rendering service to the Lord is real unity. So what is real unity? All of them coming together and glorifying the Lord. That's why we have programs, all the devotees coming together. So in the material world, such unity is not possible. Even though people may officially unite, they all have different interests. You know, in the United Nations, for instance, all the nations have their particular national ambitions, right? And therefore, they cannot be united. Disunity between individual souls is so strong within the material world that even in a society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to their having different opinions and still leaning towards the material tendencies. Prabhupada gives a very nice point. He says, actually in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There is only one goal, to serve Krishna to one's best ability. So those who are actually engaged in the service of the Lord cannot be disunited in any circumstances. So this makes the Supreme Personality of God very happy and willing to award all kinds of benedictions to his devotees. So we can see that the Lord is immediately prepared to award all benedictions to the sons of King Prachini. See, once Dhruva Maharaj got very angry with the Yakshas who killed his brother Uttama. So in order to punish the Yakshas, no, for such a heinous act, he almost killed all of them. But Swayambhu Manu stopped him. And there are very few very nice instructive and practical verses which he told to Dhruva Maharaj. So in 4:11:31, it says about anger control. That's what we want, no? Anger, controlling anger. He says to Dhruva Maharaj, "My dear king, just consider what I have said to you, which will act as a medicinal treatment upon diseases. Control your anger. For anger is a foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish all good fortune for you. Please follow my instructions." See, if you follow the instructions, good fortune automatically follows. Dhruva Maharaj was a liberated soul, right? But actually he was not angry with anyone. But because he was a ruler, it was his duty to become angry for some time in order to keep the law and order in the state. So the words Shrutena Bhuyasa, by constantly hearing, are very important. By constantly hearing about devotional service, one can check the force of anger. Continuous Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. Because anger is detrimental to the process of devotional service. So Parikshit Maharaj said that the constant hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is a panacea for all mental diseases. Everyone therefore should hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly, Nityam. So by hearing, one can always remain in the equilibrium. And thus his progress in spiritual life will not be hampered. See, but there was one question long back to my Guru Maharaj. If you are too soft or tolerant, people will kick us hard and try to misuse our goodness. We always, we have to be tolerant, we should be humble, not to react, all these things we say. So the question was put to Maharaj. If you're too soft, people will kick us and they misuse our goodness. Then he told a story on how to behave with demonic people. This connection, see, about the story is about a connection of about a snake who became a devotee upon instruction by Narada Muni. And Narada Muni instructed him, the snake, not to bite anyone anymore. Don't bite. See, ordinarily a snake's business is to bite, fatally bite other living entities. And since now a devotee is forbidden to do so, he has to stop, follow the instructions. Unfortunately, people took advantage of this non-violence on the part of the snake, especially the children who began to throw stones at him, beat him with the sticks. He did not bite anyone because it was the instruction of his spiritual master. Now, after a while, when the snake met his spiritual master, Narada Muni, he complained, Guruji, I have given up the bad habit of biting innocent living entities, but they are mistreating me by throwing stones at me, beating with sticks. Now, upon hearing this, Narada Muni instructed him, don't bite, but do not forget to expand your hood as if you are going to bite. Then they will go away. Similarly, a devotee is always non-violent. He is qualified with all good characteristics. But in the common world, Prabhupada says, but in the common world, when there is mischief made by others, when there is mischief made by others, you should not forget to become angry, at least for the time being, in order to drive away the miscreants. So the lesson we should always remember is we have to control the anger and not allow anger to control us. So these are the very wonderful points we can learn from this beautiful verse. So this is what, so the instructions was, see, we can see Narada Muni and Suniti, mother of Dhruva Maharaj, they advised Dhruva Maharaj to worship the Supreme Lord. That is the best instruction. Otherwise, they could have told, no, you should take revenge. Your stepmother told like this and all this. So many things they could have told. Then it will be just taking revenge, again, going on and on. Nobody is benefited by that. The best benefit was seek the help of Krishna, do devotional service. That's the beautiful point Narada Muni and Suniti. First, my mother Suniti told. And on the way, Narada Muni also gave him the instructions. And Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva, that was the mantra you asked him to recite. And now we saw in previous verses how the austerity he had performed. And within 6 months, he could have the darshan of the Lord. And wherein he wanted to say the wonderful prayers, right? But he was not able to do. Because when he opened the eyes, the Lord was in front of him and he forgot what to do. So Krishna is the Paramatma. He knows what is there in the heart of each and everyone. So he knew what Dhruva was thinking. So what did he do? He took his conch shell and touched his forehead. And immediately, Dhruva Maharaj gave wonderful prayers to the Lord. So if you want to recite the shlokas nicely, if you want to pray nicely, then the touch of Krishna should be there. And the touch of Krishna can come when we are submissive, tolerant, and very sincerely doing all the devotional activities like getting up for Mangalarti, right? All those beautiful packages which Srila Prabhupada has provided us with. They follow it sincerely and follow the instructions of Guru Maharaj and all the spiritual masters. And automatically, fortune follows you. Therefore, they say, I therefore wish all good fortune. Thank you very much, Prabhuji Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to glorify the Lord and purify ourselves. Hare Krishna. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gautam Hari Ko. Vancha kalpataru Kripa Sindhavaya Patidanam Pavane Vishnu. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions or anything to share, please go ahead. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam.
Thank you, Kalinati. Hare Krishna. Okay. There is nothing, we'll just stop here and close. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavas Pranam. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Jamati. Thank you very much. Okay, stop it. Thank you. Take care. Be safe. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Santosh Prabhu, Swati Mataji, Swayam Prabhu Mataji, Jyoti Mataji.
Thank you Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you, Vidya Mataji, Balaji Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Prabhu.
Well, Krishna's mercy, Prabhu. Thank you for this opportunity. So we can glorify, with all our hearts. More get
Yes,
purified.
yes.
More and more
Yes.
we chant the name. So nice. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.